It is April the something, 5th or 4th, it's like the beginning of April. And my very first guest is a dear friend and someone that I really want everyone to get to meet because she's special in many ways. And we have a really kind of a nice connection that goes way back, but I'll let her kind of talk about that. And this is the podcast Jewelry as Your Side Hustle with Sugar Gay Isber, and I'm Sugar Gay Isber. And now we're going to introduce our first guest. So take it away and your company name and give us a little bit of background information. The world is your oyster. You can just have the floor.
Thank you, Gay. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is super meaningful. I always enjoy hearing what you're up to because you are always up to so many different things, and it's amazing. I'm a woman after your own heart, or
Well,
however
this,
it goes.
this show isn't about me. This is about you. But
Can you
thank you
just,
for that. I do try hard. So
yeah,
I've
absolutely. And
definitely had a lot of great overlap.
for sure, yeah. Well, so I think I met you through Nest, which is an artisan guild that we're both a part of, and I think I won't speak for you, but I can't say enough nice things about it.
Fabulous.
I mean, because I'm talking about Nest, I think it's just the power of community, and I think it's one thing you're probably doing with this podcast is building some community and putting it out there for other maybe jewelers or small business owners or starters for that to resonate with them. So anyway, I'm Katie Heiselberg, and I own I guess two businesses. I think of it as one, but I started Katie Kismet in 2018, and really fairly quickly on the heels of getting into glass. So I work in kiln fired glass. Sometimes it's called fused glass. And I was just a creative explorer my whole life and would just get into anything. My curiosity would take me everywhere. And my career was in advertising, but more the media side. And then I did about 10 years of that and stopped and went back to school for graphic design. And that was a good move. I needed to be doing something visually creative. So I was freelancing and traveling and took a random workshop in glass because I'd never done it before and I wanted to see what it was about. And I walked out, sorry, my voice today. I walked out just energized and alive with excitement. I wanted to do more fused glass and I wanted to make jewelry and I wanted it to be a business. And it felt like it just kind of came to me fully formed, which I'd never experienced before. So I came home from that trip and found a 101 class in Austin, and I was off to the races. And I was making everything in open studio hours for a long time at Helios, which is I consider my home studio, even though I've worked and patronized a few glass places in Austin, and they're all amazing. But yeah, so then the pandemic hit. I didn't have my own kiln, so that was a unique predicament. But it was also my pandemic silver lining. One of them was I just had a lot of quiet and a lot of time, and I ended up finding a kiln, a gently used kiln, and then had the space to learn how to use it. And I brought all my production in-house. So anyway, a couple years ago, I launched Austin Bolo because I specialize in bolo ties and statement rings. And I was seeing who was buying the bolos, and it felt like a more masculine audience, even though I think bolos are for everyone.
See
I'm
Beyonce wear one, so
I'm
we're
very,
in, right?
that's right. That's right. I mean, Beyonce is doing for bolos. I don't know, fill in the analogy there or the metaphor or whatever. Yeah, so Austin Bolo also exists. And I like to frame it like Katie Kismet carries Austin Bolo. So Austin Bolo is only bolo ties and slightly Western leaning accessories. And then Katie Kismet is anything that comes out of my brain. So more modern art. My angle is sort of modern, minimalist, maximalist. So I like simple and bold, and I'm just having a grand time. But that's me. I live in Austin, Texas. What else?
I saw that on your gram. that which is Katie Kismet at Katie Kismet. Do you also have Bolo Austin Bolo too as a
Yep, at Austin Bolo. That's
so you're
right.
doing both of those on social media? Go girl. And that you're doing some gold. I saw the 22 karat gold. So now you're infusing your glass even, and they were really interesting pieces. So that was like really like that's great. Like I know that's a big jump. Like good. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's sorry, pause for cough.
Okay.
Um it is so fun, and I find that with other artists and entrepreneurs, this is a common thread often, that we have lots of ideas, and the the zing comes from the pursuit of a new idea. So can't stop, won't stop. But yeah, I have been using, because I started in glass and I did not have any formal metalworking experience or formal jewelry training. I I have just sort of benefited from the beginner's mindset and the curiosity piece, because in this day and age, there's so much available to you through the internet, through YouTube and Google and all that. There's a lot of learning at your fingertips. And so I would run up against, say, wanting a bolo back that did something that the prefabricated bolo backs don't do, and I couldn't find it. And so, sort of out of necessity of pursuing an idea, I'll sort of go into like, well, I mean, let me see if I can figure it out. And so I found someone who, I feel like the theme of me is learning just enough to to get where I want to go. And then there's always another thing, right? So,
Because
and I,
you're naturally curious, so that's how it works. You're like you learn something, move on, move on, move on, get better, get better, get better. Like every time you're doing something, you're learning still, right?
yeah, yeah, sometimes to the detriment of sticking with a good idea. Where it's like, oh, I have a business, I should be marketing these other things that are lovely and fine. But that's where the joy for me, that's where the joy comes from. And I just feel so grateful that I'm able to do this right now. And yeah. So the
But where
22 karat gold,
you,
if
you
you
you've had so much success, Katie. Like I know it's hard to talk sometimes about our successes, but you should this is a safe place. I mean, you definitely have had like a really good role with your business. Like things are really growing, and that's why you're able to keep exploring and keep getting better and better and better because you've got the wind underneath your wings, you've got a good customer base. So, like tell us about some of that. Like some of the things that you've done in the past that you're really proud of and kind of where you want to go next because you
yeah, well,
aspire to something.
yes, well, thank you for um seeing it that way.
I
I
do.
think I think it always feels different on the creator's end, the business owner's end. I can now 5 years in, 5+ years in, when I take a moment and reflect, I think, oh wow, yeah, I've come a long way. Like almost none of the products or designs that I had on the website in the beginning are still there. And I was proud enough of them then to go, which I think is important. You just need to go. Um, and I also think I remember a lot and still have a lot of impatience where my Instagram following, which I don't think I'm the best at the consistency with Instagram, but it stalled out at 249 followers for a very long time. And I was just like, what does a girl need to do to so we're beyond that, but it's sometimes I have to stop and look back and think and appreciate the growth and the progress and the successes, because it's too easy to look around and say, well, that person started 3 years after me and look at their following and blah, blah, blah. And it's just poisonous. It's so poisonous. So I think a couple things have been key. Well, one, just keep going. And it sounds trite and simplistic, but it's true. So many businesses don't make it to 5 years,
Right.
and just one foot in front of the other. And the other one of the other things is oh, hold up, I lost my
Your successes, things that you've done that have been successful. That's what we're talking about.
This is
Like
the ADD
5 years.
brain. Oh,
Okay.
yes. So fortunately, I have the graphic design background, so that
Right.
has been an asset, and it's easy. It's been an asset for me, and also there are lots of tools out there to make that an asset for anyone else, like Canva right now. AI can be helpful. In fact, tools like Canva are integrating AI, so that can be really helpful for folks who don't have a training in graphic design. And I mean, it's also been the bane of my existence, but like good photography has made a big deal. I I found I usually try to work with women and support women businesses, but way back in the very beginning, I went on Austin freelance gigs on Facebook and was looking for someone sort of last minute, and I found my photographer who I love, and he's awesome, and I just we're our kindred spirit, and I feel kind of loyal. So
You didn't
um
give him a shout out. That's good.
Dave Creaney is a super guy. He does a lot of music industry sort of angled stuff, um and I love the results we get. And
And how does that process work? Does he like come and pick them up or shoot them at your house or take them or y'all?
well, so
How's that work for you?
excuse me. Yeah, that's a really good question. In jewelry, two things are important: the product shot and the on-body shot.
Right.
So yeah, so just to make it
Scale.
sort of double the photography needs, but it's crucial. I think you need a really good close-up of what the thing is, and then how it looks on a person for scale and to exhibit how it can be worn. And I actually think that's one thing with the bolos that I could probably never do enough of showing it on people, because I feel like particularly styling it with women, who women don't normally think of wearing a bolo tie, and I'm always just kind of like, it's just another necklace. You can wear it like a choker, you can wear it further down so it behaves like a pendant. So like that's a unique sort of, I mean, I think people get rings. We
Yeah.
get rings, we get earrings,
Yeah.
but like for the bolo tie, that's a unique need for me, is that the photography is really powerful. And I like his style. So he does my on body shots. And um, the brief in the past has been, let's get the full body. And if they're high enough resolution, that then I can really get in if I need a tighter shot on body of the product. And I think that served me up until, I think it serves me. I think I could also do with some more really tight, just on product specific shots. And then I had a little photography experience from graphic design days. And so I have honestly, you can do it with an iPhone nowadays. I've got a used camera with a good macro lens. I really only use the macro lens for, and I've tried a million different lighting setups, but you cannot beat sitting next to a window with natural light. You just can't. So that's kind of
It
it for
gets that
that.
shine for glass, which is really important, right?
Yeah, and not getting reflections when you don't want, you know?
Right.
So if it's a
The
broad,
cloudy day shots.
absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot of figuring out, but I use tools that are like I use Photoshop, but like honestly, and I know you use like PixArt Gay, and I actually also use PixArt. So there's all the tools out there for whatever level you're at. It just you gotta want to figure it out. So
Yeah. Have you tried using an AI image and putting your jewelry on top? Because that's what I do in PixArt. That way I
so
models.
yeah, I am sort of in process with that. Used a tool called Firefly recently, which I
Yeah.
think is a web-based thing, to create a scene. So I wanted like a modern product photography scene, but I tried it with, I said, put a ring on an organic shaped prop with a blah, blah, blah. I told it what kind of background, what color the prop should be, da, da, da. And it did a great job. Obviously, it wasn't my ring. So then I was like, well, the next step is just like remove the ring. And now I'm going to go and remove the background from one of my product shots and see if I can integrate it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's how I
I
do it. I just take
yeah,
I take the jewelry without the background, have my image, and I just put it on top. It's like takes just.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, sometimes it looks like that's what you did.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah,
I'm not
for
talking, I'm
sure.
not talking about you, Gay. I'm just
I'm
saying
serious.
sometimes the end result looks like, oh, that's what that person did. And sometimes it looks almost indistinguishable. And I think it's just a matter of what you're going for, because there's all
Right.
different styles of photography. So
Yes.
don't
Yes.
think that a person has to only do what Kendra Scott is doing or whatever, you
Right.
know?
I think that if you lower the transparency so it's just not like so, and then it kind of blends in more and looks more real, something like that.
That's a
But
good point. That's a good
yeah,
point. And
definitely.
retaining shadows if it's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a tricky part because you got to go in and like, after you move the background, kind of like erase them back in, restore them, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Now it's almost time to be signing up for the armadillo again, or it is time, or it's past time. I'm not sure because I'm not on that list, but are you going to do the armadillo again in December? Because I know
I
you did
am.
this year. Tell me about that journey because a lot of people don't know about the armadillo, but it's big here in Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. Armadillo is well, I think it's not my market, but I participate. I think they're going into their 49th year this year. So it's a true Austin institution, which I love about that. And the story of getting into Armadillo was interesting. I kind of backing up a little bit. I grew up with my mom had her own jewelry business, and she didn't make most of it. She would buy wholesale, sell retail, but she did markets. And so we were in Houston, and she did, I mean, everything from teeny church bazaars to Nutcracker Market, and one called like really big 20,000, 30,000 visitor markets. So I kind of grew up doing my homework behind her tables and, helping with move in and move out. And honestly, never thought I would be doing it myself.
It's hard
Um,
work.
yeah, and it is hard work. And I started this business, and then with like, I, created, got the website up to crickets, because if nobody knows about it,
Right.
other than your family and friends, you're not going to sell much. So it became clear that the most immediate way to get the ball rolling was to be out in front of the people in the town I live in, and build awareness, and get out in the community. And there are so many benefits to doing the markets. I also knew I had some peers that were out there every weekend, and I also knew that wasn't for me.
Right.
So kind of early on, and having had the background with my mom, I thought, I'm I started with a couple like medium-sized markets and some of the smaller ones at like breweries and stuff like that, and then just went for it and applied for some of the two of the largest in Austin. And
Which is the other one? All the Street? Was that what the other one?
well, Pecan Street is big. I haven't done that one. I also have an allergy to outdoor shows.
Yeah, outdoors with glass jewelry. Oh yeah.
Particularly with glass.
Gets the
And
floor done. And it happened.
I'm a
It
little high
happened.
maintenance, so the
Yeah.
elements are not my jam. But the Junior League has a Christmas bazaar, so that's a big one. And Pecan Street's also big, but I haven't done it. Yeah, so Armadillo, I submitted an application, and I thought, oh, I'm sure it's too late. I don't know. I forget what year it was. It might have been 22 or 23. I can't remember. It's all a blur. Not 23, 21 or 22. And they were doing their first event. Normally it was, I think it had become like a 14-day show
Right.
in the Palmer Event Center, which is Austin, one of Austin's big event centers downtown. And then of course COVID. So they were coming back and doing their first market after sort of post COVID-ish. And they were doing it outside of the event center. So it was all outside. And
Okay.
I think so the
But not for
armadillo
2 weeks,
is
right? Like not for 2 weeks, right?
no, no, no. It was a 3-day weekend.
Oh,
So they made it short, they put it outside and invited all. They're very loyal to the folks that do it multiple years. And each year they try to bring in a little bit of new blood and all that. But I think my suspicion, I don't know this for a fact, is that a lot of the artists, particularly ones with fine art and expensive art and fragile art, were thinking, they no, 3 days outside in
Hard work.
December in Texas,
And it can rain.
not for me, or for health reasons or whatever. So there were some openings, and I was doing another market, Renegade, which is a popular one that travels, and they came by to see my booth and chat with me, and then asked me if I'd like to participate. And so I got my tent set up, and I really, again, I don't like outdoor markets, but I figured this is my foot in the door. I would like to get to know the Armadillo folks, and that is exactly how it played out, thankfully. So now the market is back inside, and they've went from 7 days to 9 days last year, and I think it'll be 10 days this year.
Is the convention
So
center bulldozed? What are they going to do? Is it being torn down?
the convention center will be remodeled.
Oh, but not the event center.
Not Palmer. So the
Oh,
convention
right,
center is
right.
on like Second Street or something, or
Yes,
First, and then Palmer is over by
yes.
the Long Center.
On the other side of the lake.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So and it's a artist market, so you have to make what you sell, which
Yeah.
I find my stuff is I say this, it's a little left to center. So it's not classic gold and silver dainty jewelry. And I think that they were excited about my bolo ties,
Mhm.
and I do well at artist centric contexts where it's people looking for something new and different. So
Yeah, for sure. Not resellers, like actually meet the artist, talk to the artist, maybe design something for themselves, have something designed specifically for themselves. Did you find any of those people there that wanted like any custom work afterwards? Is there
absolutely.
been a good following from those shows?
Absolutely. True to Austin roots, the Armadillo has music every day.
Yeah,
Local
that's
artists
live
sing.
music. Live music. It's so
Absolutely,
rare.
yeah. Yeah, it's a real scene. Yeah, I feel like it's almost equal parts concert and market, and there's food and beverages and all that. So it's a really great scene. And so there's 4 bands or acts every day, and the market goes into the night because they want it to be sort of like a night scene. And one of the fellows in one of the bands, and I forgot the name of it, he circled back months later and said, "Hey, I'm about to get married. And I really liked your bolo ties, but I was like in another zone when we were at the Armadillo. But could you make one for me?" And so he was tall, so we made a longer cord, and he came over to my house, which I do by appointment if you want to like
Mhm.
shop the
Client.
pieces and sort
Yeah,
of
for
pull it
clients.
together yourself.
Sure.
And that was a real honor. So that was a
You had to be
good.
part of their wedding. Did you get a wedding picture after it was all over?
You know what? He said he was going to, and I haven't, I feel like I saved a reel or something where I like paused it and I was like, there's the boa.
Oh, you got to
But
circle back and get
I
that
mean,
because
I
you
need
know he's
to
got a
chase
picture.
that down. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's a great story, and maybe if he ever has another reason, he'll reach out to you because album covers are really great to have jewelry on.
that's right. Yeah. I've put bolos
So,
on.
are you applying for the shows coming up because it's that time, like spring? It's like 6 months or 9 months out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's a
so
lot of work. Number one, we should back up a minute. Were you exhausted at the end of all that? Because going until late at night over the Christmas holidays when all the family is home going, yeah, she's not here, but she'll be here at like midnight.
yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Hard, very hard.
We close at 9:30 on the 23rd. And in my family, we do sort of a hybrid. We do some of the traditions on the 24th and then some of them on the 25th. So, at 1 a.m., I'm pulling the cargo van into the front of my house on the 23rd, and then we get up on the morning on the 24th and we take all the stuff to storage and return the van, and then we get to start family Christmas. So I'm sorry for the
Yes.
ding.
Was it,
Um
was it, I mean, like that's hard on the family. I do know that. I understand.
Yeah, and I've had to hire help. I mean, so I hire people to come. I have some great trusted employees. Sounds weird. I do pay them.
You pay
But
them.
I have some great teammates that I recruit for the long markets, particularly so I can like, go home at 6 one day and wrap presents and see my daughter, stuff like that. So it's a big booth fee and it's a lot to think about. It's a big setup. It was a big investment and I feel like compensates accordingly. So
That's
um
awesome.
yeah, but yeah, I'm doing, there's another market in Austin called Blue Genie, which is another sort of long running
Yeah.
artist focused market. And they do a May market. So I'll be doing their May market. And then hopefully I'll get to do the holiday market. And I think that might be it for me this year. I'm in a season of pulling back a little from markets
Yeah,
and
because there's so much work. Like seriously, I get it.
it's a lot of work and I'm curious about the other ways I can build my business. So dipping my toes into wholesale and pursuing some accounts that I think are good fits. Um, and spending a little more time on building direct to consumer, which is just like people finding my website or hearing about Austin Bolo and coming and buying from my website, which I think is, I mean, that's the pie in the sky um, when I can make it, ship it from my house and, so.
I'm actually doing a class next week with LinkedIn about doing LinkedIn ads because that's kind of where I kind of see my jewelry kind of going. But have you run any ads like Google ads or Facebook ads, Meta, paying Mark Zuckerberg money to let us be seen?
No. It's the short answer. I tried 1 October or like end of September. I had a Halloween specific style. And I thought, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to try it. If they say it's easy, da, da, da. So I cannot tell you how many hours I try. And I think I'm pretty good at this stuff. And I have the patience to try to figure it out. There is something with Meta where I mean, sometimes there's just a thing that is not working and I can't, I'll spend hours and I can't figure it out. And then I just have to stop and say, this is not a
Yeah.
good use of my time. And
Yeah.
so then it got to a certain date in October where I was like, well, if
Too
somebody
late.
buys it, I can't ship it in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Eclipse
so it
jewelry.
was,
I had the same problem with Eclipse jewelry. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of late on this.
yeah. Always that, like, I feel like I'm always racing the clock because there's always something, but no, the short answer is no. And I think that's something that I should be doing if I want to build direct and consumer. The other thing with Austin Bolo is and bolo ties in general is they're so specific that they can rise in SEO. So I
Right.
had a lady who was visiting from Minnesota and they were riding their bikes from the east side over. Anyway, she Googled bolo tie because she's always wanted a bolo tie. I asked her how she found me and she said, Google. And I could come up. I think if you Google, well, clearly she Googled bolo tie Austin and Katie Kismet, which has been around for 5.5 years, didn't come up in the results. So SEO is so important.
Yes.
And I just feel like I'm late to all the games, but I've been putting up some blog posts and it matters on Etsy. Like on Etsy, almost all my sales are bolo ties because out of the millions of listings, that pool is small enough that if somebody searches bolo tie,
Yeah.
I have a couple listings that will come to the first page. So it's something to think about when you're naming things, when you're choosing um, your maybe angle or niche or what makes you
Yeah,
unique
niche for sure.
because there's enough people on this planet that, they'll find you.
And your rings are great too. I love your rings. I think they're so they're pop. They're really a great look for I would even say millennials, Gen Z, like even like earlier, like they have a great age span. Anybody could wear them and they're very noticeable jewelry. They really have a great signature look on those.
Thank you. Yeah, I have come to realize as a woman in her 40s that I have a playful side to me that I hope never
Yeah,
dies. Like,
yeah, of
yeah, so
course you do.
I mean, it goes to it's not a, manifesto or mission statement or anything, but I think fashion should be fun. And I think you think that too, Gay,
Yeah.
if I
Yeah,
could guess.
I do.
Um, and so I just want to be playful with it. So I don't
Oh
have
gosh,
one on a base, but like
you have a necklace on. Is that a bolo you're wearing right
this
now?
is a bolo and this is it's a
Ah,
bow bolo. It's a bolo.
a bolo, a bolo. That's perfect for a bride. I could see a bride wearing that.
Yeah, it's perfect for a bachelorette
Anybody,
party.
anything.
And bows are kind of having a thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing with fashion is like things move at a million miles an hour now,
Yes.
that it kind of feels like anything's in, if you will. It just, you got to style it, and there's no better style than you being you. So,
Right. And tell me about what colors those are available in because they are really cute if somebody's interested. They're
so
adorable.
the bows are available in black and white. And
Okay.
then I have I this is in my pop collection. So
Okay.
inspired by like pop art, and they're just bold shapes. There's star, squiggle, heart, flower, and like the flower will be
About the size of the
not
boat.
2 inches wide, but over 1 inch. So like they are statement. And I always like to say with the bolo or the large statement rings, like you throw on a white t-shirt and jeans and a boot and that ring and you're done.
You're like ready for selfies. It's selfie time.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
something cute on, right?
Yeah. Super Instagrammable. Great for stylists. You can see they pop on camera. So yeah.
By the way, your videos are really good. I saw the one, of course, the one about where you're applying the gold, and your studio is beautiful. You do a great job on your videos. Like I'm always so happy. I'm like cheering you on behind. Yay, good job. Because I do think that you really have a great aesthetic. I mean, it comes across all the way across your IG. So are you
Thank
also
you.
posting on Facebook too? Or people could find you on Facebook or just in,
Well, I was having my Instagram post feed directly to Facebook.
huh?
And I don't think this is another meta thing. I don't think they're doing that right now. And I couldn't figure it out. I spent a lot of hours trying, going into Business Center and da 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 and linking and unlinking da da da. And I couldn't figure it out. And so it's interesting though, because I have recently had a couple people that were like, well, I messaged you on Facebook. And I don't think about Facebook a lot. I think about Instagram first. And then I think about Pinterest because I'm like, well, I should be more active on Pinterest because of how visual and graphic my photography and product and everything is. I have a a little bit of friction with social media. It's been a weird relationship, and it
Time
feels like,
consuming. So
yeah,
time consuming, right?
it's time consuming because I'm me and I care about not saying other people. I white knuckle the visuals to the detriment of quantity and consistency.
Right. I understand.
So I get a little caught up in having it look amazing, and I think I meet my expectation a lot, but it also means I'm not posting every day, and and so it's a trade-off, like, and I think also there's a movement back to authenticity, so I need to just like I have I think we all, I won't speak for everybody else. I don't love being on camera. I think I do it okay, but thinking about posting even just a story of me chatting about what I'm doing that day, that just doesn't really cross my mind, and my mind's on other things. So it's sort of been a weird ride, but I think I'm letting go a little bit lately, and just it should be enjoyable. I think.
This isn't a therapy class, but I am on top of that with you. Like, I think we overthink it and we overrun ourselves with more extra work. And who cares if there's one more reel? Who cares if there's one more picture? If they can't see all the other content, you know, I'm kind of like right now where it seems like I miss a lot on Instagram because everybody uses it instead of any other way to communicate now. So if you're not checking your Instagram chats or communications, then you can miss something. I was like, just looked at it the other day and I was like, oh my God, like look at all this. I just don't think to always check that because I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
No,
same.
it's not like they can text me because people don't really do that that are just like in the ether. But definitely, it's hard to keep up with it all. It's ragged,
Yeah, it's
raggedy.
I feel like I'm fighting for focus time all the time.
Yeah.
So I turn off notifications, I turn, and then there's a price to that, which is somebody messages me on Facebook and I don't know about it until they then go to my website and contact me there, and then it comes into my email and then I know,
Right.
So it's but also and also as a one person business doing all the things, I cannot be available at all times. So,
Yeah.
and I also think um, there's a mental health aspect to it, like not to get too in the weeds, but like, I had wondered for many, many years, but then recently was diagnosed with ADD. So it's real. And I know, we're all a little ADD, whatever. I hate saying that, but with this day and age, with like everything swirling around us
Yeah.
and like, you just, I have to set up the boundaries that I need and then cut myself some slack and just do my best.
It's
So,
work-life balance. Like seriously, it is. It's
yeah.
really an important part because it gives us space to be creative again. When you think back of when we had nobody during COVID and we could just concentrate on our work, what we wanted to create, what we wanted to create. We weren't thinking about that customer out there, that client out there. We were just thinking about what would make me happy today. And
Mhm.
that's a nice space to be in. It's hard to get back there when there's hustle and bustle and blah, blah, blah. So I totally understand. And you got a family, you got things going on, like it's a beautiful day today, like we should all be outside. And yet, we're doing a
Yeah.
podcast. But
Yeah.
it is hard. So I totally understand that. Like, yeah. Well, if you were gonna tell somebody that was maybe new to the jewelry industry, if you were to give them like two tips, and I know that's a little tiny bit, but I mean, you can go more if you wanted to. But like, if you were to look back at your beginner self and you were looking at somebody else that's a beginner, what would you tell them?
Um, well, it's a rerun, but just keep going, and don't fuss at yourself so much because bit by bit it adds up over time. And the other piece would be find some community. I i forget, I think I found Nest and the Women's Jewelry Association both during the pandemic, and joined up. And so once we started coming out of our pandemic holes or whatever, I was like the first time I met any of these folks in person, but it meant a lot even before the in-person things, to just be in community with people doing what you're doing and very close to what you're doing. And yeah, I think that's really important. And this is coming from an introvert who is a pig in mud when she's just in her studio alone all day. And like, I need that also. So I think it's really key.
Yeah, I just saw something. It was must have been a reel, but it was talking about like I like being at home, and it was showing all the we do we build these little bubbles around ourselves, and I don't want to go out to another job. Like I want to be able to be here and working. Like definitely. Tell me about the Women's Jewelry Association. I have not joined that, but I know great things about it. Tell me, have they helped you in any ways? Is that something you would tell other people to join?
I do recommend it. It's a national organization and there's chapters in different cities. And so I think like anything that's set up that way, it kind of depends on your chapter. So you should sniff it out for yourself. But um, I don't even remember how I got linked up, probably posts on Instagram or something. And the Austin crowd is just really great at just really down to earth folks. There we have people that specialize in pearls, that broker fine gems, that um, have major fine jewelry store. And then we have people like me who are sitting in a room in our house, working with our hands. And so it's all over the board. We have men in the group, like it's come one, come all. And Most of our events are, well, a lot of our events are free and you can come. And then there's always usually if there's a price to come, there's a non-member price and stuff like that. So just to build community. And I think the resources have been great. There have been some grants. I won one of our local grants, which was,
You did
not
do that.
multi figures, but it enabled me to buy some equipment that I had been pining for, so
Proud
um
of you. I didn't know that. So congratulations. Thank you. I'm glad that you shared that because that was,
yeah.
yeah, it's a brags on you, girl.
Thanks. And I'm on the board. So I mean I should say
Oh,
like that's how much
oh,
I appreciate that
oh.
organization is I'm oddly enough, I'm communications chair.
Oh, that's great. Well, invite me because I'll come because I'm always
Absolutely.
looking for my local tribe because
Yep.
that's why I loved meeting you and the other people that we got to know in Nest because that was definitely a really big part of it because you sit here by yourself and it's nice to have you never have to cry alone if you have a community behind you that has liked interest. So please invite me. I would love to be part of
Right.
that
We
group.
would love to have you. And the Austin group, which is what I can speak to, it's a lot of lifting each other up. I don't feel that there's any sort of weird competition. It's just very supportive. And I think when you get enough folks that feel that way, then that becomes the culture of the group. And so we share sources as far as we're comfortable. Like it's just I've learned so much. I can just send a question out, and see what people think. Even just stuff like I don't know what to do with, this is what they asked for the wholesale terms, and what does that mean? And so it's just these groups are great for that. And it's good when it's so specific. And I think we should have broader networks, of course, but yeah, there's a lot of benefit to.
Resource rich. I think that there's some other Nest people I think in that group. I can
I
think
think so. Yeah.
there's a
Um,
people that we
oh,
knew.
now I'm going to be on the spot, but
That's okay. Don't you'll have to name them because hopefully I'll have them on their show. And also that's another thing. If you have a newsletter, please tell them you've got the link and just say sign up and be on Sugar's new podcast
oh
because
yeah,
it is
absolutely.
specific to anybody that makes jewelry. Like I really want this to grow because well, it started because I looked for other podcasts that I could be a guest on just to get my SEO and my brand out there. And there really isn't anything. And they were all like 5 years old. They only had like 3 seasons or 3 things. It was like, okay, really? I
Yeah.
think I got this. I can do this. So
Yeah.
I'd love to
I'm
have
glad
some
you're
of your
doing it.
people on there, all of them, all of them. Well, this is going to go on, for years, hopefully,
Yeah.
because it's easy to do. I just have to put makeup on. It's the worst part.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for doing it, Sugar. This is a really super
Well,
thing
thank
that is
you.
missing, I feel like.
And this is a great place to do you want to say anything last? Because we should definitely say your website one more time so that people know that, and your Instagram one more time. We'll put it up on as a banner. But and anything else that you would like to share, opening the floor to you to end the show.
Well, my website, katiekismet.com, at Katie Kismet on Instagram, and then austinbolo.com, at austinbolo. Um, I would say this would have this meant something to me every time I heard it, is that maybe it took me a minute to believe it, but there's a place for you. Jewelry can feel very saturated. But if you have a vision and it's your joy and follow that. So I think A, there's a place for you, and B, authenticity, or there's no order, but they work together. So that's it.
Okay. It's a $333 billion a year industry. People buy
Absolutely.
jewelry all the time.
People
It's
like
in
to
our
adorn
DNA.
themselves. They have for
Yeah.
millennia.
From the beginning of time,
That's right.
the
That's
beginning
right.
of time,
That's
we
right.
adorn ourselves to set ourselves apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it just so much more fun. Like, you know, people aren't wearing crowns, but they were wearing jewelry back then, like for sure.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much, Katie. I love you, and I
Oh,
do, and I'm always there to support you. And please know that I'm true to that. And I look forward to seeing you in person next time I come to one of your events or come see you. And we'll keep supporting each other and all the rest of our friends that we know in common, and keep going. You're making beautiful things. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, I'm just a WhatsApp call away. And thank you for being my very first guest on my podcast. This has been Jewelry as Your Side Hustle. And I know we work hard. It's not really a side hustle. It's like our full-time jobs, but it is part of what we do. So thank you again, Katie. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.